Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And here at the very beginning of the show, I'm going to hand it straight over to Joy because she's got music news or music facts or something about the world of music to share with you.
Well, I came across this thing about Phil Collins' ex-wife is auctioning off 4 million worth of their items, including memorabilia after their home was foreclosure on. Had you heard anything about that, Tim?
No, I haven't. I know that is that the wife that he got separated from when he wrote "In the Air Tonight"? Is it that wife?
Yes, Honoree, whatever her name is. Yes, that is exactly the one. So basically, she is auctioning off estimated 4 million worth of jewelry, purses, and precious items that once belonged to him. I mean, I guess she must have got the house because she has access to auction it off.
Yeah, I think Phil has been married a number of times. I think
Yeah,
he's
he
somebody.
definitely has. Yeah.
How can we say he's unlucky in love? Shall we say?
I mean, a lot of artists are very heartfelt people. That's all I could come up with. But I will say it is kind of so they're like there's a one of those auction galleries has told in a statement that they got access to it. So they gave it to a private auction gallery, and basically the it's not they're not dead. The curator of this little auction museum, whatever you want to call it, says it's a once in a life opportunity for anybody who would like to acquire most of the personal and iconic items from the private collection of Phil and Arena. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Her name's Orianne Collins. They haven't given any specific details, but I mean, from what I'm reading, it's like their whole house. Like everything in it is going. It's a $6 million home in June, but I do think we're wrong, Tim. I did think it was In the Air Tonight, but this is after that because it says she was married to him from 1999 to 2006. So it's one of the later wives.
One of the later, of course, there's many.
Yep. And apparently she is in her third divorce now too with Tom Bates. The home itself sold in August for $7.75 million. And now they are auctioning off all the contents for anybody who wants it, I guess.
Well, $7.75 million, is that a UK home or a US home?
US home, because it's in Florida.
Oh, I was going to say, if that was a UK home, that would buy you a 2-bedroom flat in Hounslow.
That doesn't surprise me, especially because Hounslow is right outside of London. So, I mean, I'm sure it goes for crazy amounts. I mean, from what I've heard, Florida and Texas, their housing markets aren't too bad. But I mean, it's not in New York, that would get you a flat too.
Yeah, well, it might get you a room somewhere.
It'll be the size of a shoebox. So while I was diving down my little Phil Collins kind of expose here, which ironically Brandy and Tim, my twin sister, was just talking to Tim about in planes, I found out an interesting fact about Phil Collins that I just wanted to throw out there to remember his more, I guess, better things. Did you know in 1964, at the age of 13, Collins was actually cast in The Artful Dodger at West End, which is a musical. And he was the Artful Dodger at West End for the musical Oliver. Let me say that properly. Did you know that, Tim? At 13 years old, he was on the West End.
I did know that. And also he appeared as a child in some films as well.
Huh. Well, he says that he enjoyed a wage of 15 euros a week. And in a 1986 interview with Playboy, reflected on the early role as the best part for a kid in all of London. Sadly, his days were numbered. During what became his final outing as the Dickinson character, his voice started to break and he had to speak his lines. So they moved it on to another 13-year-old. But I was not aware that I kind of knew he had a little bit of this background, but I didn't know it was that young. But of course, we talked about, at 19, he was in the Hard Day's Night. He's one of the screaming teenagers.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those who don't know. But I think he was edited out of the final cut, is what they were saying. With that being said, I just thought it was cool. We'll be more, time has not been well to Phil Collins, so I wanted to make it a little bit more happy.
Yeah, I mean, like you see pictures of Phil. How old's Phil? Phil's 70 something at this point.
I want to say it was 77, but I got it right here. Hang on. I could be making that number up. 72.
Yeah.
So not quite as old as I thought.
He's 72. And, I use, I don't know, Sammy Hagar as a benchmark in this. Sammy
Yeah.
Hagar is 77 and he looks like he's 50. I mean, Phil, I mean, he's 72. And I mean, as I said, Father Time has not been kind to Phil. Mind you, even
Mhm.
in his 40s, he looked like an old man.
It's true. So I didn't know his full. Well, I knew he had a four. His full name is Philip David Charles Collins, which I did know. Tim, which one's the LVO one? What does that mean in English things?
I don't
Apparently,
know.
he's at LVO.
I don't know what an LVO is. The Las Vegas Open.
Oh,
No,
well, it
it's
says it's the
not.
LVO. I don't know. When you look at the thing that rhymes with Encyclopedia's page, it says Philip David Charles Collins LVO. I assumed it was one of those British things.
It is. It's the Lieutenant of the Royal Victorian Order. It's an
Wow.
honor.
Okay, well, there's a lot of those. I wonder if he, I mean, because you guys can be knighted, you could have all these different honors. It's a lot happening in the UK.
Absolutely, yeah. Like Mr. Brian May with his Sir and his CBE and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, well, every time we talk, there's like CBE. Apparently, there's LVO. There's another one that we've talked about before. Anyway, so that was just my little kind of music stuff at the beginning, and I will let Tim take it from here.
Okay, so this is a little bit of personal music news.
Okay.
So I have a gig coming up, which is going to be happening on Friday, July the 26th, so a little bit into the future. But as you know, if
Yes.
you play in a local band, often your gigs are booked way in advance. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we were going to be booking New Year's Eve soon. I mean, that's how far in advance sometimes these events are scheduled. But
Makes
this
sense.
particular gig is at Dr. Pepper Park. Now, Dr. Pepper Park is like it's like an outdoor amphitheater type thing. And there's two places in Roanoke. You have Elmwood Park and Dr. Pepper Park. But the person who runs Dr. Pepper Park gets some very good acts in there.
Mhm.
So we're supporting. I mean, it wouldn't really make sense for us to headline it because, our name isn't big enough to fill this huge park. But as a support slot, we are supporting the Fleetwood Mac tribute that's called Rumors LA. Now,
Oh,
apparently, they are the number one Fleetwood Mac tribute band out there.
oh, cool. I've heard of them. They play around here quite a bit.
Yeah, and
I
apparently it was
oh,
a big get to get them. And when the person who books all the bands there said that they wanted us to do the support slot, apparently she's expecting that to be her biggest show of the summer.
look at you, Tim. And it's right after my birthday. So, I mean, good things are happening that week.
There we are. So what I'm hoping is I'll see the person who's playing the Stevie Nicks character, and I'll just say Stevie Nicks 10 times at her or something.
Scream it from the audience until she asks, why is there someone screaming? You should listen to the No Name Music Cast. Tim
Exactly.
just yelling from the backstage.
Well, I mean, I'll see them all when they sound check because I have to be there at like 2 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon or something. So I mean, I'll chat to them.
Just put a little bug in their ear. That's funny. I want to say it was Dr. Pepper Park that I saw the B-52s at. Now, I think the Village People I saw at the other one.
Elmwood.
Elmwood, yeah. I was at Liberty, and I'm like, that's not right. So I know I definitely saw the B-52s there. And then there was the lead singer of Smash Mouth. Like he did like a tribute with like a few other 90s kind of B-level people.
Hmm.
And I saw that there. But I haven't, I mean, I've been to Dr. Pepper Park a few times. It's pretty known in our area, Tim. The key will someone be able to move your equipment in for you?
No. No, and this
No.
is what happens. I played there 3 or 4 times before. So where the stage is, there's like a
Mhm.
service road where there's like they have a drink stuff set up, and then there's a service road on the left hand side. This is great for people who've never been there and live outside of the country. But anyhow, there's a little service road at the
They've
back,
all
and
been wondering for years.
yeah, and that's where you park. And what happens is that you get there early on in the afternoon. You have to wait for the main act to sound check. And when they're done, you go up as a support act. You set your gear in front of theirs, and then you normally get a good sound check. Build a relationship with the guy running the sound, and then we get a nice sound check, and it's all good. So
Okay.
you play, and then my priority is to get off the stage ASAP because
Yeah.
we're not the headliners, and the main band need to go on, and everyone's come to see the main band. And there's no point trying to faff about with all your gear. So what I do is unplug everything very quickly, and then just take it all to the backstage area. And
That
once you're
makes
in the back,
sense.
yeah, once you're in the backstage area, I can then wind the cables. I can put it in the cases and put guitars away and all that kind of stuff. But I would say always my priority is just to clear the stage as soon as I can. And then what happens? There's all these people milling about, and then you have to do 5 runs back to the car with your own gear that's in this service road, and it's a whole thing.
Well, at least you're getting your steps in, Tim. I know that's a goal of yours this
Yeah, and then
year.
normally I don't stay. I might stay for a couple of songs for the main band, but I normally then head out from there.
You're
And
probably
'cause
tired at that point.
tired and you're sweaty and all this kind of stuff, and you just want to head home. So then you have to find the lady who runs Dr. Pepper Park or the person like the stage manager to find the person who has the key for the secret gate that's at the back of the service road because they will let you out of that so you can escape because you can't drive out back through the park because there's all people there now.
Now you've given away all the secrets, Tim. Someone's going to be looking for that gate.
Well, it's locked with a massive chain, so I mean, you need to find the person who's got the key.
Bolt cutters, Tim.
But yeah, you see us up there on stage wailing away guitar and people screaming our name, probably not. And then you come off stage, and then you're faffing about packing your gear up while there's all these people milling around, running back to your car, and then trying to chase around and find someone who's got a key. I mean, that's rock and roll for you.
That's all in a day's work, Tim. It's worth it though. You get to play on stage, feel the energy. It's worth it.
Exactly. The smell of the stage and the roar of the grease paint.
The roar of the grease paint, the sweat dripping down your brow.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'll be on my third t-shirt at that point because it's just so like incredibly
Ew.
humid.
That's what everyone wanted to know. Anyway, moving along.
But there you go. Anyhow, this week it's my topic, and Joy doesn't know what I'm going to pick, though she may have an idea of what I'm going to pick. So, following on from last week's episode, that I'm sure you've heard, we all came to the conclusion that Joy only listens to the music that's played in CVS. And for those who haven't heard last week's episode, CVS is a pharmacy chain.
We're not sponsored by CVS, just to be clear.
No, which is much like Boots in the UK or Rite Aid or whatever brand you have near you, which so they sell pharmacy products, but it's also like a small general store. Now, CVS round here, much like the supermarkets, have piped in music. And I don't know if it's still a thing in UK stores, but certainly here, every Target, I don't think Walmart do it, but certainly CVS do it. They all play like middle of the road hits on their PA system in the shop. So I did a little bit of research, and I found the list of top supermarket songs.
See how many times they've been played on my playlist.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say when we look through this list, a good chunk of them are all going to be on Joy's playlist.
We'll see how many times this week alone I've listened to it.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's a long list, and they're not in any particular order, but they're just ones that are played all the time in US supermarkets. And by supermarkets, I'm including Joy's favorite retailer, CVS.
It may in theory come from the time that I worked at Kroger. It got sealed in my brain, all the supermarket songs. Kroger's a grocery store for the Freak Jam people. They have a special love for the Kroger.
Yeah, when we was doing the Freak Jam during the lockdown, I was going to collect all my stuff from Kroger. And there was a young chap who used to come out to your car and load it in the back of the car for you. And I would have the Zoom call running on my phone on the thing stuck on the windscreen. And one time they said, "Oh, see if the dude wants to say hello." So after he packed my car, I called him. I said, "Hey, these are my friends from the UK." And he stuck his head in and had a conversation with them. And he loved it. And so did my friends. And then he became Chad from Kroger, a.k.a. Chad Kroger.
From AKA Nickelback. That poor guy's probably like, I don't even like Nickelback. Anyway. All right, so let's do this. Let's see how many of these songs were played in my house this week.
Okay. So I'm going to pick this one from the top of the list.
Okay.
And this is the song by Desiree, and it's a song, You Gotta Be.
That's definitely a song I've listened to. You gotta be bad.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah,
one. I definitely love that song. It's from like the mid '90s, early '90s. I don't know much about the band. I mean, they're R&B and soul, but I don't know if they did anything else. In my brain, they're kind of one-hit wonders.
yeah. Desiree, I think she was a solo singer. I think she was a British solo singer.
Hmm.
Didn't she famously have like an eye patch?
An eye patch?
I
I
think
cannot
so.
confirm or deny that, Tim. I've never seen. I mean, to be fair, I learned all my music from the CVS. I can't tell you what they looked like.
Maybe I'm thinking of somewhere else because I'm bringing up pictures of Desiree and I don't see a single eye patch. Maybe I'm confusing her with someone else.
She does not have an eye patch, Tim. You're thinking of a pirate. A pirate.
Well, there
I
was
love that song.
I mean, even before Madonna, there's like a rich history of some singers wearing eye patches. Like David Bowie would wear an eye patch just to be cool.
I mean, that is true. I'll give you that. In all fairness, Tim's not too far off because I know every lyric to that song by heart. And I'm pretty sure I just listened to it like a week ago.
Well, there we are. Well, this list is going to be great. It's going to be a revolution of
If
of
anyone ever
joy.
wanted to know what truly plays in my house, it's a mix of this and then Charlie's either listening to When to Change or Tenacious D on repeat. Gotta add some spice of life in there.
Exactly. Okay, so that was Desiree without the eye patch, as we've since found out. Okay,
Oh
well,
boy.
this one is definitely, I think, on the Joy CVS playlist. This is from the album Pockets Full of Kryptonite. This is the Spin Doctors and their song Two Princes.
I mean, this song, I will say, is a song that I think lives free in everybody's head. It is
Hmm.
very '90s, was everywhere radio. I don't know about the UK, but it definitely was a huge hit in America and really one hit wonder, kind of again. I don't really know much. I mean, I feel like the Spin Doctors had a few other songs, but this is it. I have a distinct memory of this song though. When I was a junior in high school. So for those who are in America, junior is when it's the year before you graduate. So it's
Hmm.
11th grade for us. So I would have been like 16, 17 years old, just for reference. And we have prom in America, which, by the way, Tim, some of our friends in the UK, they had a prom they were going to. And I know you said prom wasn't a thing for you guys. So it must have become a thing.
Yeah, when I went to secondary school, to Lambton School in Hounslow, proms were most definitely not a thing. I think it must have been something that happened recently because you finished secondary school and you couldn't wait to get out of there, and the last thing you wanted to do was socialize with people.
Well, I'm American, so we had prom. And I remember I loved my dress that year. And I went with my on and off again tumultuous relationship boyfriend. We're not going to give the name of because I was 16 and that's what 16-year-olds do. But
Hmm.
I distinctly remember right before we went in to eat, we were going in to eat like Japan. You always go out to dinner before prom. And so we went to this Japanese restaurant. That was really good, by the way. Called Kyoto for those who are close to Galax, Virginia. For everyone else, they probably don't care. But I remember sitting in his car right before that, dolled up to the nines, like just intensely dolled up. And that was the song that was playing. I don't know why that stands out to me, but full hair, full makeup, getting ready to go into a random Japanese restaurant in Galax, Virginia, and the Spin Doctors was the song he put on.
Oh, well, there we are. I mean, I have a memory of that song from playing it in cover bands, and also the other song that's off the album, Little Miss Can't Be Wrong.
Oh, that is them. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I guess that probably was their other Little Miss. That's probably their other one. Now, the following year, when I went to prom, I went with a friend who was not. I wasn't dating anybody at the time, but I went with a friend who was homeschooled, who had originally went to our school, and I remember, I had been in Cats the musical,
Hmm.
so I literally was in full Cats makeup because we did it. We did about 6 weeks worth of Cats because this was a community show, not like a school show,
Hmm.
and I had to go from full cat's makeup and full cat's hair and full cat costume to full glam in like 30 minutes to get the prom. And I pulled that off, man.
I don't know. I think you should have owned it and gone as a cat.
That is true. That would have been cooler looking back, but at the time I didn't want to. My dress was really pretty though too, so that contributed, Tim. I think the problem is when you're doing Cats the musical, you have so much makeup on that it
Mhm.
takes hours to get it on and off. Anyway, not that this is an episode about prom. Moving along.
Okay, now this one I think must be on the Joy CVS playlist. This is Deep Blue Something and Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, this is probably, I mean, you know what it is? This is mid 90s radio hits. That's really what it is. I mean, and that I grew up in the 90s, so I guess it all kind of comes, you know what I mean, full circle, really. Um, that's one of those songs that I think everybody knows the words to. I can't think of anybody who doesn't know the words to Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, the interesting thing about you said about these are 90s songs. I mean, this list I found was, supermarket songs that are popular,
Mhm.
etc., etc. But I found several other articles, and all of them seem to be in this 90s time scale.
It's true. Well, if I think about it, when I was younger, it would have been the 80s hits. You know what I mean? When I was going through the
Hmm.
grocery store, it's like they're like a generation or two behind on the music, really. But everything you've said has been like mid 90s kind of one headlight kind of wallflower, you know what I mean? Kind of hits like that.
Hmm.
Just an example. But yeah, I guess and the video to this song is very iconic in my mind. I've seen it like 1,000 times. It's very, I'm a man with my guitar, 90s romancing a girl kind of thing. I don't really know any of their other music. I would say they're one hit wonders too.
I think they probably are. I mean, I know this song from playing it with Ian and Paul from the Freak Jam. We used to play Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's the chords are the same all the way through. Like in the verses, they go one way around, and in the choruses, they go another way
Yeah, it
around.
doesn't seem that complicated.
No, it's not that hard to play. The interesting thing is the place in New York City, Tiffany's,
Hmm.
now actually has a restaurant. So
Yep.
you can purchase and enjoy breakfast at Tiffany's.
I've never purchased and enjoyed it, but I do have a picture of me standing in front of Tiffany and Co. And I've never bought anything there because it's very expensive, but I can dream.
Well, you could go there, you could look at all the jewelry there, and then enjoy a delicious breakfast.
Yeah. Well, now we know. I didn't think to eat when I was there last year, Tim. I'll do it next time I go to New York.
There we are. But the thing is, I know you only have a very limited amount of time when you go on those trips.
I know. I kind of want to. The next time I go, I think I'm going to stay for a few days. I want to, if they put the train. So, for those who are local to us, they're talking about putting a train station at Christiansburg, and I've heard they've got an update on it, Tim. It's going to be an Amtrak,
Hmm.
and you'll be able to park your car and leave it and do like the Amtrak back and forth up and down the East Coast. And those are the way to go for if you're going to New York for where me and Tim are, because you can just park your car, leave it, bring all your stuff on the train, go there. You will arrive right at Penn Station, and then you're right downtown.
Yeah, it's a much better way to go. As most
Hmm.
people know, a train travel in the United States is not good.
No.
It's underused and it's not good.
We don't do well with our public transportation, that's for sure.
Exactly. Cartastic.
People are like, this is a weird episode. Anyway, what's the next song?
Okay, so looking down the list here again, one that I think you may have heard, maybe Charlie would like. I don't know.
Okay.
This is Dido and Thank You.
Yeah, I've definitely heard this song. It is definitely one that Charlie likes. No, I did tell you one time I won a singing contest singing a Dido song. What song was that? I can't even remember, Tim. I just distinctly remember sitting on like a very classic Dido setup where I was like sitting on a stool, you know what I mean? Very like keyed down, like just very calm. But Dido is a song. Oh, it was White Flag. Duh, of course it was, Tim. But yeah, this song plays a lot. Once again, though, she's English, though. She's not American. Was she super popular in the UK, or is she more popular in America?
No, she was most definitely popular at the time. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember songs of hers being played at the Jam back when I was doing that around that time. But yeah, I mean they were big chart hits. The interesting thing is her I understand why her stage name is Dido because her real name
Yeah,
is Florian O'Malley Armstrong.
I knew it was something ridiculous.
Well, it's actually Florian Cloud Debone VL O'Malley Armstrong, which is why she goes by the name of Dido.
I wonder if she's got some French in her past.
I mean, she's from Kensington, which is
Mm.
a more of a well-to-do area in West
Ah,
London.
that makes sense. But yeah, Charlie listens to a lot of Dido. She came out with some new music just recently, like since I think like 2019, maybe.
Hmm.
There's a few new songs that she's come out with that Charlie's definitely put on before. And I know she did some song where she partnered with Jason Derulo. I can't tell you what it was, but so I know she's active again in singing. There you go. If you guys are into her Dido, go give her a goo because she's got some new songs out.
Yeah, I think she took a break to raise a family, and then I
Hmm.
think she's back into performing now. Certainly from the article I just pulled up, that's what it said.
Well, she had to park her car all the way on the service road before she could leave the concert, so she needed a physical break.
Exactly. I mean, I feel you, Dido. I feel you.
It's the running back and forth and the finding the key.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole shebang. Not like she wouldn't have had a crew doing that for her or anything.
No, I think she's very down to earth, our Dido, and I think she finishes the gig, she packs up a mic stand, she packs up a radio mic, puts it at the back of the stage, clears the stage, puts it in its box, packs all the cables up, and does
Rolls them
several
up very nicely.
yeah, and then does several runs back to her car before chasing somebody for a key for a security gate. I think that's what Dido does.
Her heart is pounding. She's slightly having a heart attack towards the end.
Exactly, on her third sweaty t-shirt. I mean, I feel you, Dido, I do.
This episode's unhinged. All right, what's next?
Okay, so this one is Natalie Imbruglia and the song Torn. Now, let me just tell you a story about that. When that album came out, it came out in 1998, which was the last time I went to Australia, Perth, Western Australia. And it was at a time when there were still record music CD shops in places that you could go to in shopping malls and what have you. And in Perth, I think it's still there. I think I looked it up recently just because I was curious, but there's a shopping mall in the middle of Perth near Armadale where my aunt lived. And I remember
I
going
like
in.
how you add that little tidbit. Everybody wondered where Tim's aunt lived.
No, I mean, people need to know this information.
Anyway, continue.
Me and my uncle got in our rental car, which was a Hyundai XL. See, I just remember this stuff. And then we went to the shopping mall, and went into this CD shop, and I can't remember what it's called, sadly. But anyhow, I bought the song. Well, I bought the album that song was from there.
I always, when I think of the song Torn, my brain always associates that time with that criminal song by Fiona Apple. Was
Fiona
that her name?
Apple. Yeah, Fiona
I
Apple.
don't know why those two are like keyed together in my brain around the same time, though I cannot confirm or deny if they actually came out together or if there's just something about the two songs I associate together. I don't know what it is. I mean, I've definitely heard this is not one that I actively listen to. I will say, I've definitely heard it about a million times. And I don't really know much about her. Did she? I mean, I think she had like what, two or three other hits, maybe.
Yeah, I think she's had a reasonably consistent music career. I believe she came from Neighbours and/or Home and Away. She was another Australian singer that came from a soap opera. But I think she's done pretty well for herself in the realm of music. I mean, the whole of that album that comes from is superb, and this particular track, it has a very clear guitar line on it, which is using a pedal called a univibe, which is a pedal that Jimi Hendrix was famous for using that simulates a rotary speaker. And if you listen closely, it goes wow wow wow, but it's in there in the background, and it's kind of cool.
I mean, I like the song. It gives it a cool effect, and I can understand why it's kind of like a radio staple going through. Like you hear it if you put it on like local as tip. If you put it on 99.1, you'd probably hear the song playing. Generally. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will say, Tim, of all of them, this one is probably the least played one on my Spotify.
Okay,
Sorry, Natalie. It's nothing personal.
Maybe you could add that one in for 2024. It might appear in your Wrapped if they ever give you a Wrapped.
We'll find out then.
Yeah, where are we? Where are we on Wrapped Gate? Where are
Nothing.
we?
I got a thing saying that we will respond to you within a certain amount of time, and they haven't responded to me. I will bug them tomorrow, Tim, and let you know if I get a response.
Yeah, I think it's important that we get this covered because we had to do an episode which was like DIY Wrapped. Joy's
It really
DIY.
was.
I think these are the songs I listen to Wrapped.
It was me going through because you can like figure out which months were the top song for each month. I basically picked like the top few songs for each month of 2023 and went with that.
Exactly, and a few YouTubey ones thrown in as
Yep.
well.
Yep. Because we do listen to the YouTubes. I have YouTube Premium because Charlie refuses to watch ads. So sometimes when I stream to the TV, it's easier to go through YouTube.
Yeah,
But when
we
I'm on
have
my computer, I'm a Spotify person.
yeah we have YouTube Premium because Hannah has it because I mean I cannot be doing with ads, and I sort of have a wonky workaround so we can both have it and have different profiles, and
Yeah.
I only have to pay once, which is kind of cool. So
That's
you
what we do too, Tim. But anyway, moving along.
you make a make a sub YouTube account a brand account, then share the brand account with somebody else.
Anyway, moving along. More of Tim's. Also, did you guys know Tim has 7 birthdays this week? He's cracked the code.
Well, actually, I've already had my January birthday, which was at Meza. I thoroughly enjoyed my $10 voucher, and I had a bowl in there, so I got my lunch almost for free.
Metza is good.
Yeah, and then they sent me a coupon actually for $5 off a Meza pizza, so I'm going to have that tomorrow. So I'm continuing to celebrate my Meza birthday in the month of January.
Did I tell you about Subway Gate 2023?
No.
So I got coupons from Subway and had it today because we have had. So I live in Bradford now, which none of the people care about. I don't know why I'm specifying. It's a town over from Tim, is what I'm getting at. So, I mean, we're still within about 10, 15 minutes of each other. With that being said, the subway that's nearest to Radford's campus and nearest to me, we've had horrible experiences with, just like the worst, Tim. Like, just, and I'm not somebody who, like, I'm not picky. I don't like to be rude. You know what I mean, Tim? Generally, I'll just eat it and not make a scene. But it's to the, when it goes past the point of you can just accept it, you have to say something.
Sure.
It's happened 3 times now. We finally said something, and the manager there was incredibly rude when Charlie went back to talk to him. It was like making a big scene about, well, her sandwich couldn't have been so bad. She ate half of it. And Charlie's like, she was starving by the time it came. You know what I mean? Because half my sandwich was wrong. And then Charlie's sandwich was like covered in hot sauce so much that you couldn't touch it. It was gross. So anyway, Charlie gets into it with his manager. This manager hates him, by the way, now. And so I contacted the Subway headquarters and they sent me a bunch of coupons for free sandwiches.
Oh.
So I had it today, and guess who was working? Charlie's favorite manager.
I've gone to a different Subway with your voucher.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a valid point. But he was really nice to Charlie this time.
Oh, well,
So there you go.
Well, there we go. Well, I always go to the one in Blacksburg down from where I work. And the young lady who works in there who has the facial piercings, she couldn't be nicer.
I remember her. She's very nice.
Yeah, and I always go down there, and it's always ready for me when I order it on the app, and everything is fine.
Anyway, so that was Subway Gate 2023. How we got here, I don't know. But back to the music.
Okay, so another one from the supermarket songs from Joy's playlist. This is Macy Gray and I Try.
I mean, yes. And we kind of had a conversation about Macy Gray, I think, on this podcast. Her voice, she's one of those people that you can like she could sing the phone book and you would know it was her.
Yeah, she has an incredibly unique voice. It's sort of raspy but powerful.
It really is. And somehow with that rasp, she's able to hit wonderful notes. Like it doesn't hold her like range really low as it will with some. Like she can go from low to high and still keep that growl that's so interesting. I don't know if growl's the right word. And then this one is, I mean, this is probably one of her biggest hits. If not her biggest hit, I'm not really sure. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I do know she has had some other songs. And I can definitely remember seeing this one on pop-up music video because she's sitting in like a subway or it's a bus wearing a blue hoodie video. So I've seen it quite a few times. And this one popped up a lot on pop-up video when I was a kid.
Yeah, Macy Gray, or I like to call her Natalie McIntyre.
It doesn't feel right when you say that. Because she's kind of a cool looking person. So she doesn't look like a McIntyre.
She doesn't look like a Natalie. She looks like a Macy Gray to me.
She definitely does. Now, maybe that's what the connection is, Tim. Maybe I just got into all these songs because they played them up on pop-up music video when I was a kid.
I mean, it could be. I mean, they're just ingrained in the culture for you.
It all goes full circle back to Mom having me watch pop-up music video on VH1. Thanks, Mom. wherever you are. You taught me everything.
There we go.
Well, I have said both my parents were super into music, and they know a lot about this kind of stuff too. So it probably is somewhat some of that.
There we are. Well, I grew up listening to Capital Radio 95.8, which was pop chart hits from the 80s. So that's pretty much why I like 80s pop music so much.
But we're just talking about 90s pop music. It's really the same thing, Tim, wrapped up in another bow.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm that little bit older than you. So it's the same thing, but just like a different decade of
really
hits, really.
And and what's normally on the hospital radio? Is it like 80s and 90s hits? Is this what would be playing on hospital radio?
I mean, I haven't heard hospital radio for a long time. I've appeared on hospital radio. We did a promo with Hog one time, and the music that they were playing there was pretty much your FM pop music staple type stuff. I think they're not quite so formulaic, and because it's mostly all volunteers at hospital radio.
Yeah.
Some people get a little bit more eclectic with the shows, but for mainstream appeal, I think it's just pop hits.
That makes sense. So it'd probably fit in this genre too. I would say the first time we talked about hospital radio, I'm like, wait a second. If I'm sitting there getting ready to get heart surgery, the last thing I want to have to go into heart surgery is hearing Nickelback and Tim just because I really had an image of it playing like over the CVS in the hospital. Like that's what I thought you meant.
Well, I must
terrible.
admit, I should have explored this. I recently had a procedure done in a hospital. It was inpatient, but I was in there for most of the day. Nothing to worry about. It was just completely a preventative thing I had done, and I was sitting in there for hours and hours and hours. I should have explored to see if there was hospital
The radio. Well, I mean, in the US, you're usually in the hospital beds that got the little controllers for like the TV and stuff. Wouldn't be that hard to add a little radio control in there.
No, they had a TV in there, and the only thing I could find that was acceptable was a 70s match game. So I watched 2 episodes of the match game, and then there was absolutely nothing else I wanted to watch. So I had my phone with me, so I watched some wrestling.
I remember the last time I was in the hospital when I had my kidney surgery a few years back, and it was an emergency surgery, and they sent me to Salem. I remember once I was out of surgery and they had me in the recovery, they wheeled me into my room because I had a private room, and the only thing I could find to watch was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So now every time I think of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I think of having emergency kidney surgery.
Oh, goodness me.
Anyway, so there you go. And when I had my wisdom teeth, they did put me all the way out because I had really bad, like they had to do a lot of work to get them out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no TV. I literally went in at like 6 a.m. and I was on some very good drugs that they gave me to take. And I don't remember anything after that besides waking up.
Yeah, it must be said that propanol, the stuff that Michael Jackson was abusing. I mean, even the anesthetist referred to it as that good Michael Jackson stuff. I'm just saying, like you're laying there ready for your procedure, and you see them with a syringe, and it looks like milk. And you see them because you're all hooked up with the IV drip and everything. They put the
That's
thing
what they
in
did for my teeth. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see them with the syringe, and then I heard her say, she said, "Oh, this normally kicks in pretty good," and you think, that's not going to work, and then the room spins a bit, and then the next thing you know, you wake up.
So for the kidney surgery, they had to put the full mask on me. You know what I'm talking about, Tim, for like the full anesthesia, because that was like emergency invasive surgery. For the teeth, they did that. But before I even got there, so for those who don't know where Tim's in Christiansburg to Radford, it's like Christiansburg to Rowan, it's like 40 minutes to get to Salem Hospital. So what they had me do is they had me go in. My surgery appointment was like at 8 or 9 a.m. I can't exactly remember, but you have to be there like 3 hours early or whatever. So I remember waking up at 6 a.m. and they told me at 6:30, and it was a Valium and something else. I don't remember what it was. I took it. I got in the car. And then I was there. I have no recollection of I was not driving, everyone. Somebody else was driving. It wasn't actually Charlie. Charlie had to work that day. Our friend took me. But it was actually Molly's husband, for those who saw the Molly's episode. He drove me. And I remember it was during COVID time, so you had to sit in the car. But he had to walk me in because I couldn't get from the car to the thing. I remember him walking me in. A nurse goes, "She's definitely here for surgery." And then they put me back, did the exact same thing Tim just said, and that's the last thing I remember.
There we are.
I don't know what drugs they had me on, Tim, but I have no recollection. Anyway, moving along.
Moving along. Okay, so another song from the supermarket songs. This is Lisa Loeb, and this is the song "Stay."
Yes, I'm very familiar with this. This really does kind of fit into this 90s kind of torn, you know what I mean? Thing that you're going for. I don't know that it's one that I listen to very often, but I do kind of associate it with my childhood. So maybe that's where it comes from. And once again, she had a few hits, but she wasn't huge in America, I don't think. Was she popular in the UK, Tim?
Not especially. I mean, she did very well for herself doing music for children.
I
She
mean,
she pivoted into like children's storybook music and stuff like that.
that's
And
kind of
also,
cool.
she very famously has these like glasses, very dark rimmed, like fashionable like glasses. And
Yeah.
she actually has a glasses line.
You know what's super interesting about this list? It's mostly women.
That's true.
I hadn't really put that together till now. Now I did know someone who had that tattoo. You only say, you only say I hear what you want me to, or whatever that opening line. I
Hmm.
knew somebody who had that tattooed on them once. I thought that was a little extreme for this song, but
Maybe that
people are,
it connected with that person, and there you go.
or they just like the song. I don't know.
I mean, it could be.
But it's kind of interesting that like all of your like I was like this is fit the vibe because like has there been any men on the list?
I mean, I'm looking down the list, and there's a couple of chaps.
But it's been mostly women. Maybe that's why it speaks to me, Tim. That or
Maybe,
VH1. I don't know.
maybe. All right. Well, let me choose one of the gentlemen on the list to
Okay.
try and redress the balance. Now, this one I've heard personally in CVS and the like many times, and I've played this song more times than I care to remember. And this is Eagle Eye Cherry, and it's Save
Save
Tonight.
Tonight.
Yes,
Save Tonight. This is one that
Swedish
yeah.
pop star. Yes.
Yes. Once again, another kind of band that this is the only song I know from them. I don't think I know anything else from them, though they did recently play or were, I don't know if it was the original members because I really don't know much about them, but they played at like Dr. Pepper Park last year.
Oh, really? Well, I mean, Eagle Eye Cherry is a solo artist. I mean, I don't know
Okay.
who Eagle Eye's backing band is, but he's a solo artist, and he's
Oh,
Nana Cherry's brother. Nana
I,
Cherry, famous for Buffalo Stance and Man Child. Do you remember that?
yes, I know who she is, but my
Yeah, yeah,
question is Eagle Eye, I always assumed that was the name of the band. He's a one guy.
yeah. Eagle Eye Cherry. He's
Hmm?
Swedish, much like Nana Cherry. In fact, let's first find out what his real name is. Eagle
The more
Eye.
you know, guys. I really thought that was the name of the band this entire time.
Well, I can tell you, his real name is Eagle Eye Lanu Cherry.
Oh, so that is his name.
There we are.
Interesting. I'm not surprised he's Swedish because, you know, they're good at the musics and stuff.
Exactly. Born in Stockholm.
Huh. I mean, I think I've heard of his sister, Nina Cherry, more than him himself. I seriously, Tim, 100% thought that that was a band.
No, it's a gentleman.
Well, if anybody out there thought the same thing I did, there you go, everybody. Apparently, it's one guy with a backup band because it sounds like a band name, doesn't it?
It does, but
Look, I mean, the more you know. Tim, you're teaching me stuff. You're teaching me stuff.
I like to keep you edumacated whenever I can.
I don't know why. I just always assumed it's kind of like, you know, I mean, I've never met anybody named Eagle Eye.
I can't say as I have, but you know, I'm just
It's a cool name.
it's a cool name and all, you know.
He was born to be a pop star with a name like that. Think about it. Eagle Eye Cherry, his parents like made him a pop star before he even was.
Exactly.
Even though I kind of associate that song with like alternative rock, I guess. Kind of pop rock.
Yeah, it was one of those songs when it came out, you couldn't escape it. And then for decades after the fact, every cover band played it. And then I played it with Ian more times than I care to remember. And even now, I mean, it has the same chords in it all the way through. But if I was to pick up a guitar right now, I could probably still remember it.
I mean, to be fair, I do know every lyric to that song. So same, same.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next one?
Okay. This one is David Gray and Babylon.
I don't know that song.
You do you not know that one? Does that not appear on your
David
playlist?
Gray, Babylon. Everybody, I'm giving this a goog in real life because, like, I don't recognize that at all. Huh. Let's look at the lyrics. Maybe I know it and I don't know I know it. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard it before. I just don't know. Right?
I mean, if you, it was one that was around at the time. Maybe it was more of a British thing, but
Maybe it
certainly
was.
appeared on my list of US supermarket music.
Well, since it was the number, it was a hit in the US in 2000, and there's a remix titled Babylon 2, which appears exclusively on in the US version of the album.
Hmm.
The B-side Over My Head also appears on the Japanese pressing. Let's see if I've heard this Over My Head. That makes me think of the Fray, though. That doesn't make me think of David, whatever his name is.
David
David
Gray.
Gray? Weird. You know, I probably heard it walking through the CVS. Never even paid any attention. I've heard this Over My Head song, Tim. The going over my head, going over my head. I've heard that,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't know who he was. I think he was probably, it seems like he was popular in the UK and had like one or two hits in America.
Okay. All right. Well, let's not continue talking about Mr. Gray for too long. Let's
Sorry,
move on.
moving along.
Let's move on to this one. Now, this is a jam night classic that we used to play almost every week during a period of time. Dangerous Dave's daughter Kerry famously always used to sing this.
Okay.
And this is Joan Osborne and One of Us.
I've definitely heard this song a million times. She really fits into the same genre of what we're talking about. You know, I've never paid attention when I'm walking through like a CVS that this is kind of the genre they're going for.
But it must be, as I said, I looked through many articles about popular supermarket music, and this list that I'm working from pretty much had most of the ones from all the articles I looked at.
I mean, and like everybody knows, like I feel like it's one of those songs that's like parodied almost. Like, what if God was one of us, just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home? You know what I mean? Like it's
Hmm.
almost a parody at this point. People make references to the song.
Yeah,
Now, what's interesting to me is when I listen to this song, I wouldn't have assumed she's religious, but from what I understand, she is.
maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people sing lyrics like this even if they're not religious.
Well, the reason I know this is I went through I kind of went down a rabbit hole with her, and she does have some religious background, and I thought that was interesting because I kind of saw the song from the other way. She was raised Roman Catholic.
Oh, okay,
I thought that was an interesting, not that that matters. I just think that's interesting to think about when you think about the song, right?
sure,
And she had a few other hits. She definitely, I'm pretty sure she's American. I think she was American.
sure.
But this is the one everybody knows.
Oh, absolutely. And the album that it comes from, Relish,
Yeah.
it's one of those CDs that you find in every single thrift shop. And,
Yeah.
you know, I almost have decided that I may do this. I don't know. I may do this. I was thinking of compiling as many copies of Joan Osborne's Relish as I could, because you could go into every thrift shop almost and find one copy, sometimes multiple copies of Joan Osborne's Relish. And I was just for my own entertainment, was going to see how many of them I could get.
And she's so, her hair, the blonde curly hair and the nose ring, I think is very iconic of her. Like very like distinct. When you think of Joan Osborne, that's what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, this is a very popular song, and as I said, I've heard this in supermarkets and CVS's myself.
I've definitely heard this in a supermarket somewhere. I can agree with Tim on that one.
Yeah, or in Radio Kroger or whatever it was.
It was actually Chad who pressed play.
Well, he had a TDK C90. He pressed play up in the office, and Bob's your uncle.
Well, what was interesting is when I used to do HR for Kroger, I didn't realize we had to email someone to change the radio station because it's handled somewhere's off site.
Hmm.
I thought that was weird. Like, I guess I probably knew that, but like, when you would hear the same songs over and over, eventually the store manager would be like, okay, we got to change this or I'm going to lose my mind. And he would have to, one of the store managers would have to email the district office and they would change the radio for us.
Yeah, it was probably piped in by satellite. A lot of the before broadband internet was really a thing, a lot of these shops would have a satellite dish and that would handle that kind of stuff. And
I'm sure it probably
there were
was.
companies that used to handle it. I mean, when I was working in retail, when I worked for Superdrug, which funnily
Yeah.
enough is a lot like CBS, they had a box in the office, mate, and they used to get the tapes. They were like 8-track cartridges, but they were larger, and they were supplied by a company called Rediffusion. And then they'd go and it'd be like an endless loop cartridge that it would play the music. But it played horrific copyright-free supermarket music. And it's like
Sounds like you're at a jazz concert or sitting in an elevator at all times.
yeah, and it was mixed in a way that it was only mid frequencies because the speakers they had were designed for voice. You know, you'd go, Bob Smith, check out number 3, thank you. It was designed for that kind of thing, not
Yeah.
for music. So they used to EQ it so it would sound good in those systems. And I remember those cartridges coming in, and then when one day we got the thing down from head office, a memo saying, we're not doing that stuff anymore. It's deemed old fashioned. Turn it off. We were like, yes,
Yes.
at last, yes.
Thank you. I remember the worst for me was the ads. So because Kroger would have like ads over and over, it'd be the same. So you would hear like the 5 greatest hits of the 80s. And like I told you guys, it was the Who, and then that put me in coach, I'm ready to play center field John Fogerty song on repeat. And then it would be Paramore, Misery Business. Like I heard those songs. Oh, and I Want to Part. It would be Kiss, rock and roll all night. But anyway, you would hear those 5 songs, and then there would be the worst one was the Avocados from Mexico one. Out of nowhere, you just hear ding ding, Avocados from Mexico, and then it go right back into the song. And I remember I was like so burnt on that stupid jingle. Whoever invented that jingle, I would like to talk to you. But anyway, so with that being said, I remember when we were watching the Super Bowl that year, they had like 4 Avocados from Mexico jingles that like every time it came on, I just wanted to throw something at the TV screen. It was the jingles that drove me nuts. But then the weirdest one is there was a wine, and I'm not going to say the name of the wine, Tim, because we keep this PG. Let's just say it's a French word, and if you look for a black box with red lettering, you'll find it, guys. And it was the weirdest thing to hear that French term for something over there. I'm like, who in corporate approved this? Because it would go from like the most PG music you've ever heard to this. And I'm like, who's behind this? Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim?
Yeah, it would be the company that supplies the wine who paid to have that thing on Radio Kroger.
It was very strange, guys. But anyway, what's next on our CVS world?
Okay, so this is The Verve and Bittersweet Symphony.
Yeah, this is another one that I could definitely associate with my childhood and associate kind of with those one headlight kind of songs, right?
The
And
interest
this, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the interesting thing about this song is contains a sample
That's what I was
of
getting ready to say.
yeah, the Rolling Stones song "The Last Time," but it's not the actual song. The guy who's the singer in the Verve, I can't remember the chap's name, but he was in a junk shop and found a record which was orchestral classical versions of Rolling Stones songs,
Yep.
and those strings that you hear at the beginning of Bittersweet Symphony is a sample of the record he found in the junk shop, and it's of The Last Time. Now, this Rolling Stones' management, when they got wind of this, they sued and they wanted to have writing credits and they wanted a piece of the royalties and all this kind of stuff. And this issue had been in and out of the courts for years and years and years. And in the end, Mick Jagger got wind of it because you're in the Rolling Stones and you write the songs, but the day-to-day business of the Rolling Stones
You're not handling.
You're not handling that. You employ people so you don't have to deal with that stuff. But he heard about this through his office, what was going on, and he said he shut it down. He said, actually, I really like this song. He said, let them have it. We're done with it. We don't want this. Let them have the royalties. It's fine. And they were like, oh, okay.
His name, the lead singer's name is Richard Asqua.
That's
And
him,
I know
yeah.
that. because this is one of those like facts that comes up a lot when you're talking about this song. And I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, where have I heard that? Where have I heard that? It took me a minute, but it's the same. But I find that very interesting because me and Tim have said people get inspiration from many different places. There's only so many combinations of things. Now, this is very distinctly a cover. Like you could tell it's the same thing. But still, I like that. If I were in the Rolling Stones, I'd be like, we've made enough money. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think that was Mick Jagger's point is that, he liked the song and he doesn't care about 5% of the earnings of Bittersweet Symphony or whatever from a monetary perspective. He just liked the piece of art they made, based on their music. And he was like, just let them have it. It's fine.
I can't imagine. That's kind of, I feel like if I were an artist, that's how I would be. But I also understand people wanting to, cover their work and integrity and things of that nature. Not saying you should go out and openly copy everyone you've heard, but there's only so many songs. And me and Tim have talked about how many songs you could play knowing four chords. So,
Exactly. Well, it's like Faithfully and Purple Rain.
yeah.
Purple Rain was recorded and written, and it had not been released. And then for the Journey song Faithfully was recorded and released, and I think that was tied into a film or something at the time. And then it came out, and everyone's like, "Wow, Faithfully!" And then Purple Rain comes out, and of course, the two artists had not heard each other's music,
work.
but the chord progressions are very similar in both those songs, and their bits of them are quite similar. And I believe the Prince song was created and recorded before the Journey song was. So really, Prince, if he wanted to, could have sued or asked for a royalty and all this kind of stuff. And apparently, Prince heard the Journey song and he went, actually, he said, we're all in the same game. It's fine.
He was he was nonchalant about it. That's why I really loved it. We've talked about this heavily. I still love the way Ed Sheeran went into court with his guitar, Tim, and just started playing all the songs that sound similar to what they were claiming. I
Yeah.
love that. I thought it was perfect. And I mean, he ended up playing, they said at the end of it, he ended up finding songs from the 1700s, like with the same chord progressions. And he was like, there are literally hundreds. He brought like stacks and stacks. He physically brought them to make a point that, like, can you really? Here's what it comes down to, Tim, in my mind. Can you patent or copyright a chord progression? I really just don't feel like you can.
No, because like you say, there's only so many chords and only so many ways of assembling them.
Well, in our ears, like C, D, G, you know what I mean, Tim? Like those are the sounds we like. So it's going to be commonly used in maybe E, used in songs, right? Because we
Hmm.
like the four, we like a 4x4 sound. So four notes, you know what I mean? Four stands. And then we like that time signature and we like those chords. So when you start putting them together, there's only so much you could do with it. But that is generally what pop music likes and what's heard, right? I mean, you go back to the Beatles.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now, everybody. But that's how I feel about these cases. I just don't feel like you can copyright a chord progression. I don't.
No.
Anyway, not that anyone's asking me and I'm involved in any of this. Moving along.
Yeah, you're not involved in litigation right now.
But Ed Sheeran, if you listen to our podcast, I still think that was a genius move on your part.
And he does.
Obviously. I spoke to him last week. I know
Sure.
all British people by virtue of Tim. Because Tim, you guys are all like interconnected somehow, right? Because you guys all know
Sure.
about what happened to Princess Di.
I mean, it's a small country, 60 million people. I mean,
I still, Tim, to this day, I can't get past the day with Princess Di. Tim said no, you guys, it was the most nonchalant. Like, we all know what happened. And I was like, what do you mean you all know it? I'm like, did they tell everybody Britain and they just didn't tell the Americans? Was it like on a smoke screen over the TV?
it was a leafleting campaign, Joy.
It was written in kilometers. We couldn't read it in America.
Well, UK still uses miles, so
Oh,
and the
never
roads
mind.
and the roads the cars have miles per hour. The signs are in miles. Petrol is sold in liters.
Okay, it was written in liters. We couldn't figure it out. Whatever. All right, moving along.
Okay, so I'm going to close this episode out of the supermarket songs by an amazing artist who's one of my favorites. This is Sheryl Crow, and this is her song, Every Day is a Winding Road.
Once again, it really fits the vibe of what every other song on this playlist. Now, this is one that I kind of associate with my mom. She loved this song. I heard it a lot growing up. It's an American radio hit, really.
Yeah, I mean, this is from I believe it's her first album that's just self-titled Sheryl Crow.
Yeah.
Or actually maybe her second album. I think her first album was Tuesday Night Music Club. And Tuesday Night Music Club is in that kind of like pantheon of great albums that I love so much. And then the Sheryl Crow album's good too, but it's not as good as Tuesday Night's Music Club.
I mean, Sheryl Crow is one of those artists that you don't realize how many hits she's had until you like give her a goog and then you start looking at her like, oh yeah, that song and that song and that song. Because she's not like, you don't hear about her much in the media or talked about very heavily. Does that make sense, Tim? She keeps kind of a low cover, but she's
Yeah.
had hit after hit.
I really want to see Sheryl Crow. I've never seen her perform. As I said, she was booked to open up Elmwood Park in Roanoke when it reopened a number of years ago, and she was supposedly the first artist to perform on it. But I played on it the week before, and I think we may have covered that before. But yeah, I really would like to see her because she's such a good artist. And you're right with her hits catalog. I mean,
Hmm.
you bring up like some playlist or the greatest hits of Sheryl Crow, and you look at like, 15, 20 plus songs, and every single one is bam, 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 bam.
And they're like songs that like aren't like everybody knows them. Even if you don't know that it's a Sheryl Crow song, you've heard it. And they're used in movies, and her net worth has got to be high.
I think and well deserved. I mean, she's a
Yeah.
multi instrumentalist. She's a fantastic singer. She's a songwriter, and I mean, she's created these great songs and these great music.
And if Sheryl Crow listens to the podcast, please perform at Elmwood Park and let Tim open for you.
Well,
That's the summarize.
yeah, I'd be happy for her to play anywhere in Roanoke or the surrounding area. I don't necessarily want to be a part of it. I just want to see it.
I want to see the thing. That's fair. Well, if she's listening, which she does, her and Ed share it together actually when they're
Yeah.
hanging out. Because they totally run in the same circle. We would know, Tim. I still can't believe Eagle Eye Cherry is one person.
Yeah.
I lived my whole life thinking that was a group.
No.
The more you know, everybody. All right, what do you want to leave the people with?
Okay, so I'm going to leave everybody with a piece of advice.
Oh, here we
Okay.
go.
So, a little while ago, I was gifted an entire CD collection.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I love CDs, and the person I work with was about to throw them out. And I said, don't throw them out, I'll take them. So they didn't have the dual cases or anything, but they were all in like Case Logic folders. And there was 600, something like that. And I've been working through these CDs, and I've still got quite a few to go. And I try and listen to one a day. And they're mostly like 90s, 2000s alternative rock, that kind of stuff.
Stuff I grew up on.
Yeah, and some metal, but there's other stuff in there too. And
Okay.
it's been an eye opener because some of that music I'm not super familiar with. So it's been interesting to listen to. Some of the CDs, like the rap CDs, I just threw them out because I'm never going to listen to those. And some of them are CDRs and they're really burned badly because they're 20 years old and they don't
Yeah.
play. But I'd say 80% of this collection I've been able to ingest, as I would like to say, into my permanent collection.
Okay.
So when I first got these CDs, I was flipping through these folders and I saw towards the back, I thought Star Wars music. And I thought, oh, that's exciting. And I do have the original Star Wars film 2 CD set. I already had that,
Okay.
but there was one for the Empire Strikes Back and the other one by Return of the Jedi. So I was playing one of these CDs today, these Star Wars CDs today. And my advice to you, if you ever see a 3 CD set, the Star music from the Star Wars trilogy, that's collector's edition, no less. This isn't by like the Something Symphony Orchestra or conducted by John Williams or anything like that. This is performed by the New World Orchestra. Now, when you think the New World Orchestra, you think it's an orchestra. Many musicians in an orchestral setting creating some amazing classical music. And, some classical pieces aren't always performed by like the so-and-so symphony orchestra. There's various regional symphony orchestras and other orchestras which create great pieces of music that are enjoyed by many.
Okay.
The New World Orchestra is one person with a Yamaha DX7 keyboard.
Of course it is.
This
How-
is terrible. It is really, really bad.
That's amazing.
Now, have you ever seen Claymation Christmas?
Yes.
Okay. You know the incidental music from Claymation Christmas?
Yeah.
It sounds like that,
Oh, that is bad.
which is fine for Claymation Christmas, but like when it's like these big bombastic Star Wars songs,
It doesn't quite
it's
hit.
terrible. It really is terrible.
It makes me wonder with whoever gifted you these, how they even came across the CD.
Well, I would imagine. I mean, these are from 97 or 98, according to or 97 or 99, looking at the little copyright thing on here. And I looked into it, and it was a 3-box set. And of course, it says the music from the Star Wars trilogy. So if you're a fan and you see that in a shop and it's probably bargain priced, I'm assuming, you think, oh, that's great. I like the Star Wars music. I'm going to buy that. And you get home and you put this on, and it says that it's just one person with a keyboard, and it's not good.
Well, I will say I owe my friend Shannon Williams in high school. I borrowed her CD collection when I was in high school, and it was in the same type big black case Tim's referencing, the classic one. And so, with that being said, Coheed and Cambria was a band I was not familiar with, did not know anything about them, but she had 3 Coheed and Cambria CDs that I ripped from her CD collection. Yes, because I took all her CDs to rip them because, that's what you did. So I ripped all of her CDs, gave them back to her. I had not listened to Coheed and Cambria or Alien Ant Farm before she gave me those CDs, Tim, and now they are staples in my life.
Well,
so
there we
getting
are.
CDs are wonderful.
Absolutely. And if anyone out there would like to donate their CD collection from their attic to me, I would happily take them in and be a custodian of
Do you
that
have a PO box that we can give the people to see what people send?
No, send me an email, timosullivanguitar@gmail.com, and we will figure it out. And I'd love to be the custodian of your unloved collection.
We'll have to do reviews on people's CD collection they send you. All right. Well, with that, be nice, everybody. Bye.
Bye. See you later. Bye-bye.